Hi, you're watching Reddit Confessions. This story is about what happens when someone thinks you'll just sit there and wait. Spoiler, I didn't. The note she left was on a napkin. From our kitchen. The same one she used to wipe pasta sauce off my chin a year ago like she still cared. It said, "Let's not make this ugly. We'll talk when I'm back. Promise." There wasn't even a heart at the end. She used to doodle those. Little lazy hearts, half drawn. Now, just ink and indifference. No goodbye kiss. No explanation. Just a duffel bag, a cab waiting with hazard lights blinking at the curb, and the sound of wheels rolling over the welcome mat I bought for our anniversary. It said us, always. I threw it out that night. She wasn't going on a business trip. She wasn't going to clear her head. She was flying out to meet someone who called her sunshine in a message she forgot to delete. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stood in the window like an idiot, watching her hug the driver before she got in the car. That was 3 days ago. And now? The apartment is empty. Her clothes? Gone. I donated them. Her drawers? Filled with eviction notices I printed and stamped myself. The bank account? Drained. Legally, we shared it. And the ring she left behind on the sink? I mailed it to her mother. I didn't do this out of anger. I did it out of clarity. She thought I'd wait. She thought I'd sit here, refresh my email, reheat leftovers, and hold my breath until she decided if I was worth a conversation. But while she was sipping cocktails with him, I was rewriting the ending of our story. She wanted to talk when she got back? Too late, because I'm not here anymore. But the fun part? She still doesn't know how much I found out. She doesn't know that someone else was watching her. Someone close. She doesn't know I saw the hotel confirmation, the dinner reservations, the accidental photos she left open in her iCloud. And she definitely doesn't know that I'm not done. The next part? That's where things start to shift. She took something from me. And now I'm about to take something from them. When I say she had no idea what she left behind, I mean it literally. While she packed her lies into that duffel bag, she left her tablet charging on the nightstand, wide open, no passcode. Maybe it was arrogance, or maybe she thought I was too pathetic to even look. She was half right. I used to be. I waited until the apartment was quiet, dead quiet. The kind where you can hear your heartbeat in your ears. I sat on the edge of the bed we used to share, holding her tablet like it was a bomb I wasn't trained to defuse. My hands were sweating, and not because I didn't know what I'd find. I didn't know. That's what made it worse. I already felt the betrayal before I saw it. But nothing could have prepared me for how deep it actually went. The messages weren't just flirtatious. They were vile. Mocking. She called me a doormat with a Wi-Fi password. She laughed at the way I fold my socks. She told him, this guy, Landon, apparently, that I cry at the end of animated movies, and that I once left work early to bake her a birthday cake from scratch because I thought she was sad. Her words, he tries so hard to be romantic, it's actually kind of pathetic. My hands shook. I didn't cry. I wanted to, but I didn't. I just sat there, reading messages where the woman I gave over a decade of my life to dismantled me for sport. She even sent him a video. I didn't open it. I couldn't. What she didn't know, though, is that I'm not as tech illiterate as she thinks. I didn't just read the messages, I exported everything. I mirrored her device to my laptop and backed up every file, every picture, every email. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it yet, but I knew I couldn't just delete it. If there was going to be closure, I'd need evidence. And something deeper in me, something darker, wanted her to know that I knew. By the time the sun rose, I had already packed 2 suitcases, sold my game console online, and called in sick to work indefinitely. I wrote a letter to my landlord terminating the lease and arranged for a moving company to pick up only my belongings. Hers? I left in the hallway. Not damaged. Just gone from my space. Then I did something petty. Maybe cruel. But honest. I printed a copy of one of her chats. The one where she told Landon she was going to pretend to work for a few days while they had their little getaway. I circled that sentence in red marker, folded the paper carefully, and slid it into her favorite book, the one she kept on her nightstand but hadn't touched in months. I left the book open on the bed, like an invitation. She said, "We'll talk when I get back." She'll find silence instead. But the twist? She didn't just cheat on me with Landon. No, that man wasn't a stranger. And the moment I realized who he really was, everything started to unravel in ways even I wasn't ready for. You want to hear this? I didn't sleep that night. Not out of sadness. At least not the kind that makes you sob into your pillow like in the movies. No, this was a different kind of grief. Quieter. It sits in your chest like a stone and makes everything heavy. My body moved on autopilot while my mind spiraled deeper. I kept rereading those texts, trying to make sense of how someone you love can rot you from the inside without ever raising their voice. But then, something clicked. Landon. The name kept scratching at my brain like a splinter I couldn't reach. It wasn't a common name, not in our town. And when I looked closer, when I zoomed into a photo she sent of him in what looked like a hotel mirror selfie, I felt my stomach clench. That necklace. I'd seen it before. 3 months ago, we'd gone to her sister's birthday dinner. It was a big group, some friends from work, cousins, random faces. One guy sat at the end of the table, laughing a little too loud and giving her the kind of glances I pretended not to see. I remember his leather necklace with a silver loop. I remember it because she teased me that night for not wearing anything fashionable. I brushed it off. That guy was a nobody. But he wasn't. He was her coworker. His full name? Landon Myers. He worked 2 floors below her. I remembered because she once said he was too intense and tried too hard to be liked. Irony stings harder when it's personal. Now it made sense why she started dressing nicer for work, wearing perfume on weekends, suddenly caring about yoga classes she never actually attended. I didn't want to believe it, but every puzzle piece fell into place. And with each one, I felt more like a ghost in my own life. But here's the real kicker. It wasn't just an affair. It was planned. This wasn't spontaneous. She had been building a life with him in the background, scheduling secret vacations, using her work trips as covers, even hinting in text that she was almost free of the paperwork. That word, paperwork, kept bouncing around in my head like a warning bell. I logged into our shared tax account. I had never done it before. She always handled the financial side. She said numbers made me anxious, and I believed her. But what I found there made my pulse throb in my ears. 3 weeks earlier, she had contacted a divorce attorney. Not just a consultation. She'd already filed. The papers were prepared and waiting. My name was on them. She hadn't served them yet, of course. That would have ruined her little getaway. No, she planned to return from her weekend of lies, pour me a cup of coffee, and serve me those papers with her fake, tired eyes like she'd tried everything. She was never coming back to talk. She was coming back to bury me in paperwork. So I made a decision. If she wanted to build a new life in secret, then I'd dismantle the old one in plain sight. While she was boarding planes and whispering sweet nothings into another man's shirt collar, I was unbinding every rope that tied us together. I closed the joint accounts, transferred the utilities, called my employer, and told them I needed extended leave to handle a personal matter. They didn't ask. They knew my voice too well. Heard the shake in it. I started disappearing from her world, one string at a time. Quietly, cleanly. And then I found the one thing that changed everything. An email. From Landon. Not to her, but to someone else. Someone I hadn't spoken to in years. The subject line? He'll never see this coming. And trust me, I didn't. But you will. The email was hidden in a folder I shouldn't have been able to see. Some synced account she accidentally left connected to the shared tablet. I wasn't even searching for it. I was digging through her travel receipts, trying to trace hotel bookings, when I saw a single notification flash on screen. Message delivered, sent items. That's it. One click, and suddenly I was staring into something I wasn't prepared for. The message was from Landon, sent 3 days before their trip. It was short, precise, too confident for my taste. The subject line read, "He'll never see this coming." The body of the email said, "Everything is in place. She'll file after we return. She'll use the abuse angle if needed. You know what to say? See you soon." He didn't send it to Lena. He sent it to Brady, my brother, my younger, manipulative, always 2 steps ahead brother. I hadn't seen Brady in almost 2 years. He vanished after a fight over some old family inheritance drama. Our parents left me the house. He wanted to rent it out. He called me selfish. I called him lazy. That was that. We stopped talking, blocked each other on everything. But apparently, Lena hadn't. She had kept in touch with him behind my back. Or maybe she reconnected through Landon. Hell, maybe she introduced them. The 3 of them had created this invisible triangle I'd been sitting in the center of, blindfolded. I kept reading the thread. Landon and Brady were planning a full sweep. Help Lena transition smoothly after filing. They talked about public narrative, keeping their stories straight, using screenshots to manipulate the emotional record. That was the phrase that nearly made me vomit. Emotional record. They were manufacturing my downfall before I even knew the story had started. And Lena? She was just as involved. She sent updates. Played both sides. She wasn't conflicted or scared or lost. She was orchestrating everything, sending hotel confirmations, discussing timelines, even referring to my quiet breakdowns as leverage. Leverage. I don't remember standing up. I don't remember walking to the mirror. But suddenly I was staring at myself, pale, hollow, red-eyed, and I realized they didn't just want to leave me. They wanted to destroy me, turn me into the bad guy, rewrite the ending where I was the villain. A fragile man no one would believe. But that's the thing about fragile men. We break quietly, and we rebuild in silence. I didn't respond to the email. I didn't scream or confront or make some cinematic scene. I just closed the laptop and stared at the ceiling for hours. Planning. Rebuilding. By the time she texted me from whatever beachside suite she was in, pretending to care, hope you're okay. Thinking about you. I was already setting things in motion. I contacted a lawyer. A good one. One who specialized in asset protection, false allegations, and digital evidence. I forwarded every message, every photo, every recording. He called me personally within 2 hours and said, "We're going to turn this into the cleanest exit you've ever seen." While they were sipping overpriced cocktails and giggling over their little heist, I was locking down my credit, freezing joint cards, and filing paperwork of my own. Quietly, legally, strategically. I even sent a reply to that email chain. From her account. No words. Just a single attachment. It was a screenshot of the entire conversation with my lawyer CC'd. Then I deleted the account. They wanted to play a game behind my back. I just flipped the board. But I wasn't done yet. Because if they thought I'd disappear quietly, they had another thing coming. And what Lena came home to wasn't the home she left behind. It was a stage. And she walked right into the spotlight. She came back 2 days early. That part wasn't in their plan. Maybe something spooked her. Maybe she sensed I was slipping out of reach. Or maybe, for the first time in her life, she felt even an ounce of guilt. But guilt doesn't show up with a blowout, fresh tan, and a $1,200 purse that wasn't there before. No, she wasn't sorry. She was testing the waters. And I was ready. The front door creaked the same way it always had, but this time, it echoed like a warning bell. I sat at the kitchen table, calm, reading the same novel she once gave me for Christmas, still unopened until that morning. She stepped inside like a stranger visiting an Airbnb. Hesitant, quiet, eyes scanning everything. The couch was gone. Photos removed. Half the furniture vanished. But it wasn't empty. It was curated. "Ellis," she called out like we hadn't spoken in years. I didn't answer. She stepped farther in and paused when she saw the framed photo sitting neatly on the counter. It wasn't one of us. It was of them. A printed screenshot of Landon's hotel selfie, her reflection visible behind him in the mirror, blurry but undeniable. I heard her inhale sharply, like her breath caught on a fishhook. She turned the corner and finally saw me. I didn't flinch. I didn't speak. I just looked up and watched her expression collapse under its own weight. For the first time in this entire ordeal, she looked small, like a child who broke something she couldn't afford to fix. I was going to tell you," she began, her voice trembling in that rehearsed way I'd seen in court dramas. I didn't blink. "No, you weren't. You were going to serve me papers. After lying to my face. After turning my own brother against me." Her eyes widened. She hadn't expected that. She wasn't ready for the fact that I knew everything. "Ellis, it wasn't supposed to happen like this." "But it did," I said, standing slowly, the book still in my hand. "And I'm not here to argue. I just wanted to watch you walk back into the ruins you built. Wanted you to see it. To smell the absence of your own life." She tried to reach for the photo, but I slid it farther away. "That's for the lawyer now," I added. "Along with the emails, the messages, and the abuse angle you thought would paint you innocent." She froze. "You went through my tablet?" she said, as if that was the betrayal in this story. I laughed. Quietly. Bitterly. "You handed me the truth on a silver charger, Lena. I just opened the lid." She looked around again, at the half-empty room, the stripped walls, the silence that screamed louder than any fight we ever had. "I want to talk," she whispered finally. "We don't talk anymore," I said. "You made sure of that the second you asked Brady for help destroying me instead of just leaving." Her jaw clenched. I could see it in her eyes. She wanted to cry, scream, beg. But there was nothing left to stand on. No high ground. No script to follow. Only the truth. And she wasn't used to dealing with that. I'm not staying here, she said, grabbing her purse. You're right, I replied. Because the lease is terminated and your name's off the account. You don't live here anymore. She hesitated in the doorway, looking back one last time like she expected me to stop her, to say I forgave her, that we could fix it. But I didn't. She walked out, and that would have been enough. Except the real twist wasn't what she did to me. It was what Brady did behind her back. And that's where things turned completely upside down. The house felt clean after she left. Not tidy, clean. As if her scent, her lies, her games had all been sucked out the door with her. I stood there for a moment, looking around the stripped living room, waiting for a feeling to catch up to me. Relief? Closure? Maybe even sadness? But none of them came. All I felt was clarity. Until my phone buzzed. Blocked number. No voicemail. I ignored it. 10 minutes later, another call. Then a third. I answered on the fourth ring. Silence on the other end. Brady, I said flatly. He exhaled sharply, like he knew I already knew. I didn't mean for it to go that far, he started. It was supposed to be a bluff. A joke. He sounded winded, like he'd been running. Maybe from the mess he helped create. Maybe from himself. You helped them plan it. You coached her, I said. You agreed to destroy your own brother. I didn't know she'd actually file, he said quickly. I thought she was venting. I didn't know she was serious until it was too late. You sent emails. My voice was low, but shaking. You said you'd back up the abuse claim if needed. He went quiet. Then he added, it was just leverage. Landon said it wouldn't come to that. That name again. Landon. Always the shadow between everyone's words. I didn't do anything, he muttered. I swear. I liked the idea of you losing for once. There it was. The mask off. The little brother still carrying every childhood bruise like it justified a betrayal this deep. I forwarded everything to the lawyer, I said. The emails. The calls. Your name's on it all. He didn't respond. You're scared now. I added. Good. Then, just as I was about to hang up, he said something that made my stomach turn. She lied to me too. I froze. What do you mean? She told Landon that once you were out, it'd just be the two of them. But last week, she messaged me. Said she wanted to reconnect, that she was scared of Landon's temper, that he was getting possessive, controlling. A pause. I could hear his breath trembling. She wanted me to help her leave him, just like she used me to leave you. My mind spun. I remembered her face in the doorway earlier, how it shifted the moment she realized I knew everything. That look wasn't guilt. It was fear. She thought I'd protect her, Brady said. After everything. The silence on the line stretched so long I thought he hung up. But then he whispered, Ellis, she played us all. I didn't have a response. Because deep down, I already suspected it. Lena had always been a shapeshifter, changing just enough to be whoever she needed to be for whoever gave her the most power. And now, she had no one left. No backup plan. No fallback guy. Not me. Not Brady. Not even Landon. Because if what she said about him was true, she'd lit a match in a gas-filled room and left all the doors open. But I wasn't going to save her. Not again. Not after everything. I had one more move left. Something permanent. And it would happen at a dinner table, with Landon, Lena, and a guest list they didn't expect. I never planned on revenge. That wasn't what this started as. But when you catch fire standing in someone else's lie, there comes a point where you stop trying to put it out. You just decide who you want to burn with you. And I was done burning alone. It was Brady who gave me the final piece of the plan, without even meaning to. A few days after our call, he texted me a screenshot. Lena had reached out to him again. This time more desperate. She said Landon had become unpredictable, that she thought he was cheating, that she was so sorry for dragging Brady into everything. She even floated the idea of the two of them reconnecting again. I didn't reply to Brady's message. I didn't need to. The screenshot was enough. It confirmed what I already knew. Lena wasn't loyal to anyone but the story she was trying to tell. And now, she was trying to rewrite it again. I contacted Landon directly. Not with threats, not with insults. Just an invitation. A dinner reservation at a quiet little steakhouse outside of town. I made sure the reservation was under Lena's name. I made sure it looked like a surprise. I knew she'd show. Curiosity always trumped her better judgment. I also knew Landon would show, because someone like him doesn't say no to control, not when it's dangled in the form of a private dinner and a woman who once promised to leave everything for him. But what neither of them knew was that Brady would be there, too. I told him exactly what to do. Show up 10 minutes late. Don't speak until I nod. Record everything. He agreed, not because he was sorry, but because he didn't want to be the only idiot left standing when the curtain fell. The night of the dinner, I arrived early. I watched from the corner table, behind a decorative divider, just out of view. Landon came first, leather jacket, smug expression, checking his phone like he owned the place. Then Lena walked in 10 minutes later. She wore the same necklace I gave her on our 5th anniversary. I smiled at the irony. She kissed his cheek like everything was fine, sat across from him, and immediately started talking with those soft, manipulative tones she thought worked on everyone. They were still mid-conversation when Brady walked in. She saw him first. Her face drained. She tried to recover, said his name like it was a mistake, a misunderstanding, but it was already too late. Landon stood up, confused, then angry. Then something snapped. I stepped out from behind the divider. 3 seconds of silence. That's all it took. Lena's voice cracked first. What is this? I laid a small folder on the table. Inside were copies of every email, text, photo, voice memo. Not printed with malice, just organized. Precise. A mirror held up to the mess they made. I didn't say a word. Just placed the folder down and stepped back. You were never in control, I said, finally. None of you were. Landon opened the folder. His face changed slowly. Confusion, realization, fury. He turned to Lena, but she was already unraveling. She started defending herself, stammering, saying she never meant for this to happen, that she was scared, that it was Brady's fault. And that's when Brady hit record. Because that moment, her unraveling, the accusations flying, the 3 of them crumbling in public, was all I needed. Not for vengeance. For protection. I sent that recording to my attorney the next morning, along with documentation proving manipulation, triangulation, and attempts to fabricate a false abuse narrative. It wasn't just about a breakup anymore. It was about making sure none of them could rewrite the truth. Lena didn't come after me again. Neither did Landon. And Brady? I told him we're done. No contact. Not now. Not ever. I moved to a new city 2 weeks later. Small apartment, clean slate. No noise. But there's one more thing left to say. One final twist. Because what none of them know is that I wasn't the only one watching. They thought they'd broken me. That I'd fold, disappear, and let them write my story in pencil while they danced in the margins. But I didn't vanish. I evolved. And in the end, I wasn't alone. Her name was Maura. Not someone new I ran to out of loneliness. No, Maura had been part of the background for years. My neighbor in the apartment complex before Lena and I bought our first house. She was the kind of person who remembered birthdays without needing a calendar. We lost touch after the move. Life got busy. So did the lies. After I relocated and started over, I ran into her at a small coffee shop downtown. I almost didn't recognize her at first. Same calm presence, same messy notebook full of half-written poems, same genuine smile. When I told her everything, yes, everything, she didn't flinch. She didn't offer pity either. Just patience. Conversations that didn't feel like battles. Silence that didn't need to be filled. Maura never once asked me to move on. She just reminded me that I already had. It wasn't some cinematic redemption arc. I didn't suddenly find myself on a beach at sunset holding hands. Nor did I post selfies proving how fine I was. I just started waking up without checking over my shoulder. I started eating full meals again. I laughed, really laughed, when Maura spilled coffee on my shoes and blamed gravity like it was a conspiracy. That's how healing begins. Not in explosions. In quiet persistence. As for Lena, I heard she moved out of state. Last I checked, Landon got fired from his job over internal conduct issues. My lawyer handled everything. No scandal. No courtroom drama. Just documentation, silence, and signatures. Brady tried texting me a month ago. I didn't even open it. That chapter is closed. And maybe the best part? I don't need to know how their stories end. I'm too busy writing mine. Now it's your turn. What's one historical moment that changed the course of everything, but started quietly, like my story? Was it a letter? A whisper? A single choice? Share it in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to Reddit Confessions.